Well, hello and welcome back to another episode. So this is going to be a slightly different video from my usual tutorials. I've basically finished everything I wanted to cover with the ray tracing in C++ series now, and I've been spending some time flexing qbRAY to explore its capabilities, and I couldn't resist posting something about that. Actually, I've been working on implementing path tracing into qbRAY, and although it's still only a very simple, naive path tracing implementation, it can produce some quite impressive results. One thing that I love about path tracing as a technique is the way that it gives objects in the scene a real sense of presence. This scene with the qbRAY logo shows that well, I think. It's something about the way that the surfaces of different objects interact with each other, and the certain darkening in the corners, otherwise known as ambient occlusion, and so on. There's a certain graininess to this image as well, because I'm not using any form of noise reduction or denoising, and I didn't want to push to too many samples per pixel, because the rendering time would have been far too long. But for a still image, I actually like the grainy look. It's a bit like preferring old grainy photography with film over using a digital camera. Somehow it just looks more alive, I think. I can't think of a better way to explain it. But, of course, graininess is no good at all for animations, and I've been playing around with creating some path-traced animations using qbRAY. As qbRAY supports some quite cool modelling features, for example being able to create composite shapes out of other shapes, it was quite easy to create this pendulum animation. This shows quite nicely how path tracing simulates the interaction of light between different surfaces when they are close, something that isn't possible with basic ray tracing. One thing I did notice about this though is the bright flash on the floor when the pendulum passes close. I'm not sure if this is 100% realistic and may mean that my implementation of Monte Carlo integration isn't quite right yet. I'll be looking into that before I post any tutorials on this subject. If we look more closely at the pendulum, and apologies if this gives anyone motion sickness, we see that the bright flash on the floor is, as I suspected, due to light reflecting off the bob at the end of the pendulum. This is a white sphere, even if it appears slightly grey, so perhaps this isn't so unrealistic. I am not sure. So the other cool thing about path tracing, I think, is that any surface, or indeed any object, can be a light source. That means that we can create glowing materials and apply those to complex objects, such as the qb logo here. In this case, this whole scene is illuminated only by the glow from the orange Q and the blue B. There are no other light sources in this scene. It took a long time to render. This was 1024 samples per pixel, and for 300 frames it took just under 3 days. Not something I want to be doing too often, but I don't mind for a one-off. I think the results were worth it though. What do you think? I love how the rotating ring interacts with the light and changes colour accordingly. The ring is yellow, so when it interacts with the blue light it generates a greenish colour, and with the orange light it gives a reddish orange. I also love the soft shadows that it casts over the checkerboard floor. Okay, so one thing I think is quite cool about qbRAY is that it allows the combination of ray marching with other techniques such as path tracing. The letters in the scene are actually ray marched shapes produced by forming a specific signed distance function. That means we can do some crazy stuff with them, such as this. Here I've applied a simple sine wave ripple to the letters, which looks quite cool, I think. I love how this produces ripples of brighter and darker spots on the floor and the ring, a little bit like being underwater. So we've come a long way since beginning this series 27 episodes ago. I'm thinking that I'm more or less done with covering basic ray tracing now, though I do want to go on to talk about triangles and triangle mesh objects, but then that will be about it. That will probably bring us up to about 30 episodes, which I think is more than enough for one series. So what I'm thinking is that I will explore path tracing as a new series, perhaps on the more general case of photorealistic rendering. It would be quite cool to explore photon mapping as well as path tracing, but we'll have to see how it goes. I don't have as much time for making these videos as I used to have due to other things that I now have going on, but I will do my best to continue with this series. I also have some plans for other content related to the series, which I hope to be trying out soon, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I think that's enough from me for today. As always, thank you very much for watching, and if you like this video then please do remember to hit that like button, and if you haven't done so already then please consider subscribing to my channel so you don't have to miss any future videos. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next video soon. Bye!